candidates. Jennifer Easton, would you stand a little bit? All right. Denise Gantz, she's not here. How about Marlon McGraham? Luis Morales? And Dave Perry. Okie dokie. All right, these are school board terms. Molly Henderson. Molly. Good evening. So, I know I'm gonna mess this up. Denise Saraka. Denise Saraka. Denise Saraka. Oh, hold the mic close. Oh, okay. City Controller, James Rockenbach. City Treasurer, Derek Smith. Candidates for the Lancaster County Controllers, Miss Lisa Cologne. Christopher Hess. Is he here? No. Moving along, we have the candidates for City Council. Ethan Brown. And I know I'm gonna mess this one up. He's not here. Good, I'm not gonna have to go. Faith Craig. Dave Cruz. Not here. Janet Diaz. Ms. Diaz.
Elizabeth Ellis. I messed this one up. Enes Manunas. Leones.
And the last, Ishmael Smith, Wade L. Okay, as we say this, moving right along, I'd like to go right on into having our candidates and then having some discussion back and forth. I'd like to give each candidate a moment, 1 minute to open. And that would be Lancaster County Controller, Miss Cologne. You have 1 minute to speak yourself. Come up.
Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm really happy that you guys are doing this because it lets the people from all over the city that even can't come here be able to meet the candidates. So on your chair, you'll see a little bio about myself, and on the back, it shows my community involvement. I am an accountant. I have 15 years of experience. I'm running for the position of county controller, not to be confused with city controller. And what's the yellow mean? Okay, 30 seconds. So anyway, you'll be able to learn more about me here, or you can find me on my Facebook page for my candidacy. If you have any questions, I'll be back there, but I would really appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving along, we shall go into the City Council. I'll give you 1 minute to have your opening, and then at the question and answer, you have 1.5 minutes, and then you have 1 minute for closing. Okay. So, first question I have, I go to Ethan. In relationship to community policing, what ideas do you have to improve police policing and community relations?
to pull my mask down here. But I would say that I think one of the most important things is making sure that our police are involved in the community and have actually personal relationships with everybody so that people can feel safe and protected. I feel like when police officers keep their distance, I feel like the community doesn't feel safe. They don't trust them. They don't know what's going on. I feel like it's important that we foster involvement. And that's not always something that you can legislate to a T, but it is something that you can encourage and you can call to action. Was there a second part to that question? I'm sorry, was there a second part to that question?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, then I'm done.
I've been remiss to say something. I'm supposed to give the bio of you guys, so I have to take a step back. Forgive me, this is my first time at this. So, school board. I guess the only one I have here is Dave Perry. They all left.
They have the school board meeting right now.
Okay.
The other candidates had to go to a school board meeting, but Jen will speak for them and give them some background.
Okay. Would you please?
Can you hear me okay? All right. Ooh, don't want to pull too hard. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Jennifer Eaton. I'm sorry, I just wanted to correct that. People also may know me around the community as Jennifer Van Buskirk Eaton. That was my maiden name as I was growing up. I'm currently a parent of 2 kids in Elizabeth Martin School and a parent of an adult son. My siblings and I also grew up through the school district of Lancaster. I stayed in the community and later graduated from Franklin and Marshall. My time following college led me into lots of different areas where I tried to apply skills and give back to our community, and that involved focusing on areas of education, reducing poverty, reducing violence in our communities, and also building stronger community partnerships around our schools. I believe that the schools are the hub of our community and that we can work together to focus on that through equity and a number of other methods. But I'm called on time, so thank you very much. I also have a statement for Mara Cresswell-McGran. She is currently an incumbent that is at a school board meeting at this time. Mara Cresswell-McGran is finishing her first term on the school board. As a current board member, she has prioritized student voice, equity, and fair funding for the district. She is the parent of 2 SDUL graduates, 1 student at McCaskey. Mara has lived in the school district for over 25 years and is a graduate of Millersville. She works in her family's city business and has been involved in many community organizations that support SDUL children and families, including the Lancaster Daycare Center, YWCA, YMCA, and Power Packs Project.
Thank you. Ms. Molly?
I was going to say something about Dave Perry. He is not here either. He is an incumbent running for school board. They are at a school board meeting. He is, I don't have my, I can't read it, my glasses. He feels very passionately about public education and feels that start with public. He wants to give back very, very much, so he's running again. And I ask you to support him. My name is Molly Henderson, and I see some familiar faces out here. I am a little different situation than the other school board candidates. I am running for a 2-year term. A gentleman by the name of Randy Carney passed away. He was on the school board, and so there's a 2-year gap, and I am running to fill his term. I come from a long line of educators. I am an educator myself. I taught high school. I taught at Millersville on Elizabethtown. Some of you may know me from being on head of public health here in the city. And I think with my background in education and public health, it would be a good time to offer my services for the school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Miss Srirachi. Miss Srirachi. Forgive me.
All okay, Mr. Holland. Thank you. My name is Janine Srirachi, and I am running for a second term as mayor, and it has been, wow, quite a year. There are a lot of things that we need to finish that we started focusing on sound government, safe streets, and making sure that our pedestrians, bicyclists, and cyclists and drivers are all safe, and strong neighborhoods as well as secure incomes. And we know that secure incomes have been tested to the max during COVID. And so my challenge and our challenge as a community is to recover from COVID. That's number one. And I think that as last year has taught us the importance of situating equity in all of the work that we are doing as a city. And then in addition, to secure the financial sustainability of the city. COVID has not been kind to anybody. It has also not been kind to the city of Lancaster. And these are three of the priorities that we are focusing on. And I look forward to the honor of serving you again for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. James Ratchenbach.
Brevity is the best thing in these situations. So hi, everybody. I'm really thankful to be here, and I'm thankful to have the opportunity to run for city controller. Really excited to run with Derek Smith. Excited for him to be my sidekick and my road dog and my number one, actually, for city treasurer. I know he's going to do a great job, and it's going to be exciting to work together with him. 10 years of experience, city council, and as city treasurer. I just want to continue to serve the best way I can and be a support network for council, for the city treasurer as Derek, and for the mayor as well. So, main goal really over the next couple of years is to continue to advocate to make sure that we have the resources we need, make sure that our pensions are funded, make sure that city taxpayers are not overburdened as best way we can. But I'm just really excited about the team, the council members, Derek especially, to work together as a team, and the mayor as well. So I'm blessed and I'm lucky to be here, and I'm lucky to continue to be able to serve. So I hope that you all will come out, and I really look forward to serving you for another couple years. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Derek Smith.
Hello, my name is Vincent Derek Smith, and I'm running for the city treasurer. I am also the assistant director of Christmas Addicts Community Center. So I want to switch my hat and welcome you here. I've been here 9 years, and I'm active in the Southeast. I am a community organizer. I am also the founder of the African American Culture Alliance. I have worked with many of you in this room. I am happy to move into this next step to be a part of the city treasurer and bring some publicity and community insight of what the city treasurer does and the responsibility of the city treasurer. Hope you have a great night. Welcome and feel at home.
Thank you, sir. Moving right along. Now we get to the candidates of city council. Ethan Brown, would you give a minute, please?
All right, now that you guys know what I think about policing, I'll introduce myself. And I'm going to read this off of my phone, so that'll tell you how old I am. So my name is Ethan Brown. I'm a recent graduate of Messiah University located in Mechanicsburg. I moved to Lancaster City last year, August 2020. I'm working temporarily at Fulton Mortgage Company, and I've been there since September. And what I've come to discover and enjoy about Lancaster City is that it is rich with diversity and offers a breadth of services to its community members. Many pockets of the city are warm and inviting, and over time I've been witness to the good this city has to offer, though unfortunately I've also seen the bad. Complacency seems to be rooted deeply in this community, but I believe now that this struggling city can be the face of what it means to embrace change. With the people's support, I hope to address the drug and alcohol addiction, fiscal policy issues, and pervasive homelessness that plagues this city right now. Lancaster City and the surrounding area stands as a beacon of light for people in Pennsylvania. These problems must be dealt with, and with the help of those who care about our city, I will make change for the better.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Faith Craig, please.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, great. So I'm going to stand up and do this because I think it might feel more comfortable to me. So I hope you don't mind. My name is Faith Craig. I'm a longtime resident of the city of Lancaster. Myself, my husband, children, and grandchildren, all products of SDOL.
I hear you.
Cannot hear me?
Put the mic to your mouth.
Okay. How's that? Better?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I was saying, I'm a longtime resident of Lancaster City. My husband, myself, my grandchildren, and my children are all products of SDOL. I've lived in Lancaster for over 50 years, and my desire in continuing to serve on City Council is to address some of the problems that the city currently faces, such as affordable housing, helping build a better relationship between the community and the police, especially the community of color, the Black and brown community, and COVID recovery. So those are my main focuses throughout this next term, and I would hope that I can get your continued support in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Janet Diaz.
Testing. Hi, everybody. I'm Janet Diaz. I have been in the healthcare industry for over 19 years, and throughout my life, I have been an advocate for everybody out there without a voice, especially for those that don't speak English, which obviously they may speak Spanish, which I do. And I want to be reelected because I feel that I can continue fighting for our community, especially when residents tell me that the roads are still, after 20 years, not fixed. I understand them because the tires get busted every time you drive in certain areas. So we need to continue fighting for that. As well, we want to continue the air and the quality of our water. We want to continue fighting to make sure that our children are safe going back and forth to school, and that we have enough funding for them too. So we need to work with the city budget to make sure that those students have the proper funding, and we keep fighting in Harrisburg with Governor and make sure that we get funding for them. I want to continue fighting for you because I believe that you're worth fighting for.
Thank you, ma'am. Elizabeth Diaz. Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Elizabeth Elias. And I appreciate you having me here today. I am a longtime resident of Lancaster City. I actually live here in the southeast end of town, and I am a graduate of Millersville University. I am a social worker. My full-time position, I work in a faith-based outpatient drug and alcohol facility, and that is what I do. My whole entire social work career has been dedicated to helping students, or helping people in the community deal with homelessness, addiction, and other issues, really, and mental health and things like that. And I would love to be able to continue to do that, and in a new way, and through being on the city council. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Miss Dina.
Hi, I'm Dina. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. I'm Dina Mayonis. I am in Northeast the city all my life. I grew up in Manheim Central, but my father owned a business for over 20 years here called Frank's Place. So I grew up feeding the community at his shop. So I look forward to seeing faces that I've seen before as I was growing up here at the restaurant. I've worked for a company named Cargill for 15 years. I've become a subject matter expert there along with a business analyst. A few things that I'm passionate about and why I'm here today and throughout this year. I'm passionate about listening to the community and their needs. I'm passionate about learning about different diverse neighborhoods within the city, and I'm eager to keep learning as I listen to those residents. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Wade.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me? My name is Ismail Smith Waddell. I have the honor of currently serving as the president of City Council, and I have to thank my colleagues on council and the people of the city of Lancaster for electing me to that position. I want to thank National Action Network and South End Concerned Neighbors for holding this event at Crispus Attucks because it's a good reminder. You know, I was born and raised here in Lancaster City, but I think no community of people than the community around Crispus Attucks, maybe Brightside Community Center where I did rites of passage with Mr. Lupton, had more of a role in helping to raise me. And I hope that you will re-elect me along with my colleagues Faith Craig and Janet Diaz, as well as Lashard Kaliste, who could not be here this evening, because a lot of good work has happened in the city of Lancaster, but we know that it is not done and that it is not enough. And we have to come back and ensure that people have housing, real public safety, and a community voice on council. I see you, Darlene. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that's been done, now we'll move on to the questions and answers. Ms. Diaz, parking. We have garages that belongs to rentals, housing units, and properties. These garages are being rented out separately, which is against the code. When and how are you going to enforce this code? It will create more parking space on the neighborhood services, South Ann Street.
Which parking? Oh, the one up here?
South Ann.
Oh, the permits.
South Ann goes all the way from King Street all the way down to Duke Street.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you in reference to making changes there. We have had issues constantly, people calling me that they have 2 or 3 cars, they're parking and they're not supposed to be parking because of permits. I think we do need to really look and investigate all the residents, how many permits they have, how many cars they have, because it's not fair to those that are elderly and disabled that can't get to their homes. So we definitely need to work on that policy and move forward with it.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown, narrow streets were good 50 years ago with residents owning 1 car. Now families own 3 and 4 cars in one house. Parking on the street is congested. What's your solution in regards to this problem?
I think that's a great question because that's part of the reason I'm running. It's because I want to make a difference in that regard. I live on 426 North Duke. That's where I live. And it is a pain in the butt because each building, I'm sure a lot of you guys know, only gets one parking permit per the entire apartment. And it's incredibly difficult to be able to live there. So when I talk to the city services, they weren't able to do anything for me. I have roommates to save money, and it's very difficult for me to obtain a parking permit. Fortunately, I have a landlord who's gracious and who I can rent from a parking space. I believe that needs to change. I can't say in full honesty that I know how to solve that problem, but I believe that we need to look to the experts, to people that would know, that can answer these kinds of questions. And I believe these kinds of questions take humility and understanding from council people who are willing to listen and not just act on a whim. So I'm willing to listen to the experts on what they think is best, because it is clearly an issue and it needs to be prioritized.
Thank you. I see we have a new candidate sitting here. I can't pronounce your name, sir. You have to give it up.
Lancaster City.
Okay. I'll give you a minute to tell us about yourself.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. First of all, I'm sorry for the delay because I received an email. The email I received said that the debate was going to start at 7 o'clock. So the door was going to open at 6:30. So I'm sorry for the delay. But anyway, as I said, my name is Lancaster, and I'm originally from Haiti, and I came to Lancaster 9 years ago. And but when I came here, it was kind of hard because I was living in Mexico. I left Haiti to continue my studies in Mexico. And when I got to Mexico, and I earned a master's degree, and I studied international law. And after that, I started teaching international law for 11 years in Mexico. And after that, I decided to come to the U.S. in order to live with my family. So, but when I came here, my okay, thank you.
Okay. Yep. Miss Elizabeth, this question's for you. Some employees may or may not live in the city. These same employees pass by, driving over, driving down the street, and yet do not report potholes or bad streets. What's your comment to that?
Well, it's absolutely true. I do agree with that statement, and I would say that we definitely need to take a look at having some type of policy or getting together and coming up with a protocol for that. I think that those are very important issues. I run into that problem literally all the time. So I think that it's definitely something that needs to be dealt with, and I think that the sooner the better. And I think if we come together and we have some type of guidelines or protocol for that, I think we could tackle that problem successfully.
All right. Thank you. Ismail, do you think the city codes should be updated?
Generally or from time to time, Mr. Holland?
Generally.
Yes, I do. I think that there are, since you've just given me the question, I'll just go for it. I think that there are a number of areas in which the city code needs to be updated, and I think if we look just at the issues that have been mentioned since we started coming down the row, we should take a look at permit parking. We should take a look at our housing policy. We should take a look, for example, at how many of our public servants reside in the city or engage deeply with the city, and those are things that can be affected by policy. I will say briefly that my hope in finishing out the rest of my term as council president and hopefully being reelected to city council is to establish a more independent and more actively accessible city council, accessible in multiple languages in this city, Spanish, Vietnamese, French as are common in the city of Lancaster, and I hope to do that with Lancaster's help. So that you know that your council is responsive to you and that you don't wonder because you are a recent immigrant or because English is not your first language if council is paying attention to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Dina?
Yes, sir.
How would you engage our city youth to encourage their participation in city government?
So I think that
could start at home first to teach our kids to be involved within the community, to teach our kids that we shouldn't be afraid to be who we are within the community, and that just because we have a D beside our name or an R, we shouldn't be demonized, right? It doesn't make us who we are. We need to have conversation to learn who we all are, and in doing so, that opens the door to sit down and communicate and look at problems that we all face and see the common ground between them.
Thank you. Ms. Faith Craig, what are your thoughts on the current state of the youth? What do you think is needed to guide our youth in a more positive direction?
It does not like you.
Clock running.
No, I stopped. I stopped.
Okay. Okay. So, the current state of our youth with COVID is a mess. You know, there's kids all over the place with not being in school and hopefully getting back to school in some sense of normalcy that'll start to help to make things a little better. As far as activities for kids in school, I seriously think, I'm not running for school board, but I would definitely advocate for after-school activities, more involvement from the parents, number one, and guidance from every level of city government. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Brown, what would you support a person purchasing a property and using it for a
group home, rehab, or reentry program without the neighborhood's consent?
It's a good question. It's honestly not something that I'd thought about. But I would say that I think on most things, if not all, you have to err on the side of compassion. It's more than just don't hate people. It's love people. And at the end of the day, I believe that the people that are going to vote for me, they don't want to know so much what my policy issues or where I stand on this or that, what that is. So much so that they want to know that I care about the community. Because opinions change. But you don't want to elect somebody that doesn't care, that isn't compassionate. And so I would always err on the side of compassion. If I were ever to try to pass some kind of legislation against people, forming, organizations that help others, I would only do that because I believed it was the most compassionate, loving, and kind thing that I could do. I'm not convinced that that is the case, but that would be a judgment call that I would have to make in that moment and based on all the factors and all the evidence.
Thank you.
Mayor,
I have a question for you. The use of community development funding, county and city. As for justification of the use both county and city, what are the long-term plans and funding source for the southeast section of the city? Set aside federal governments, are we still receiving these funds?
So we have continued to receive community development block grant funds, and those funds are primarily used to protect and preserve existing housing through our rental inspection program. And so, Mr. Holland, your son is part of our rental inspection team, and so he is paid through the community development block grant funds. We also use those funds to the benefit of securing other additional affordable housing and doing other kinds of infrastructure. Over the years, over decades, that amount of money that we receive from CDBG, that's the shorthand for Community Development Block Grant, has declined significantly over time. What we are about to receive is about $42 million through the American Rescue Plan under the leadership of President Biden that we will have guidance for early next week, I hope, that we will be investing across the city in specific areas related to workforce, housing, health, as well as, I'm missing my fourth one. It'll come to me. And that is going to begin with a community conversation about how to invest those funds. In the meantime, here in the Southeast, we have DCED funding, we have Commonwealth Financing Authority, we have Liquid Fuels funding, and other sources of revenue that are helping to support park improvements over at Millburn, as well as street repairs, and some work that's going to be happening right out here on South Duke Street. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Diaz, what is your position regarding the use of force by the city police?
Well, we have voted on making sure that the police does not use chokeholds and use de-escalation. So I'm very proud that we did pass this legislation. And we should continue talking and speaking with the community. And also, since Chief Bay has started, he has already implemented that the police will be doing neighborhood engagement by, I call it the beat, which means that they'll be walking around the neighborhood instead of driving in cars, which obviously scares a lot of the residents because they don't know if they're coming after them. I can also say that I am a sister of a police officer. There's about 5 of them in my family. So I could understand both sides of the story, but I definitely feel that we need to continue the engagement with our community and the police.
Thank you.
Mr. Lockhart, do you think the city code should be updated?
In order to update the city code, we have to have the consent of the community. So first, we have to consult the community and act and make a decision that would be for the common good. So if changing or updating the city code for the community, it's good for the community, so we will do it. But first, we will, in our meetings with the other city councils, and we will discuss that, and in order to make sure that the decision that we're going to make, it's good for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Faith, do you think the trades curriculum should be returned to the middle schools and high schools?
No, I do not need him to repeat. I heard what he said. Do I think the trades should be returned to the middle school and
high school
curriculum? Actually, yes. Yes, because I think, not everyone is college material, or not everyone benefits from going to college. Some people benefit from learning a trade. I have 5 sons and 11 grandsons. My sons did not go to college, but each and every single one of them, except one, has a trade that he earns a honest living from. So yes, most definitely trades should return to middle and high school.
Thank you. I'll piggyback on that because I went to Millersville and I did industrial trades. My family is nothing but trade people. And I came from Chester, PA. Okay. Elizabeth, do you consider yourself who mend fences with disagreement? If yes, or give an example of how you would achieve this. Do you consider yourself to mend fences?
Consider myself a person that
I can't hear you.
I consider myself a person that would. Is it working? I consider myself, whoa, working. Okay, so I consider myself a person that definitely is wanting to work with people and come together, collaborate. I'm big on collaborating. I do that a lot on my job. I don't always agree. If I would sit here and say I agree with everyone all the time, that would be very unrealistic. So I'm a kind of person that wants to hear your heart. I want to know what's going on. I want to get the right people together, and I want to collaborate, and I want to come together until keep the conversations flowing until we can come to some kind of agreement or somewhere where we can both be happy and move forward.
Thank you. Ismail, what are your family values?
That's maybe not. No. I'm going to give it a try anyway. That's an excellent question, Mr. Holland. That's an excellent question, Mr. Holland. I think I would be remiss to talk about family values without talking about the woman who gave me my family values. That is the late Dr. Rita Smith Waddell, and what she instilled in me and my brother. What she instilled in me and my brother is that somebody can tell you anything they want about who they think you are, and then it's your job to go out there and prove them right or wrong. I'm an 8th generation Roman Catholic, and so the values that my faith and my mother have given to me are that we do the best that we can for the most people that we can. If you have something to give and somebody asks you for it, you give it to them, and sometimes even if you don't have it, you find a way to go out and get it. Those are my family values, Mr. Holland.
Ms. Dina, name a person you most admire and why.
That's a neat.
I'm gonna go, whoa, sorry, I forgot this one was working. There's a chef in Italy named Massimo, and a few years ago he came up with this concept of breaking bread. Bread is gold. And what he did, he took a kitchen and a hall, and he took some of the top chefs in Italy, and he said, we're gonna take our leftover food and we're gonna feed the homeless. So he brought these homeless people in, he gave them a real meal, made them feel like real people. And so ever since I've been following him just to see the change he has made in community, and that is one very big thing that I would like to bring here in Lancaster City. And it is one thing that I've seen over COVID, the restaurant community came together in collaboration rather than competition. And it's something I think we need to model ourselves on. They said, go eat here tonight. I'm closed, or I'm closed because of COVID, but go eat here. And that's what I like to see in the city, and I think that's what we need to keep continuing on, is this collaboration no matter who you are. Let's sit at a table and have a meal and discuss things.
Thank you. Mr. Brown. How do you define regentification?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that word.
Regentification is a series of things that happens in a community that is low rate, and then people come in and buy and then change it all around, and the price goes up and higher and higher and higher, and we cannot come back to that community anymore.
So, I am familiar with this. I think there is a problem, especially in this community. Back in the 60s, there was actually a huge issue with this, where, we actually, this is before Congress passed a lot of laws preventing segregation, but this community itself, I mean, we were tearing down buildings, building new ones in favor of white folks, and segregating this community. I don't believe that's where we're not on that track anymore. Recently, there have been, I think the city council, the current city council, is very aware of this issue and very aware that we need to avoid these kinds of problems. Certainly, there are pockets of the city where property values are extremely high or extremely low. And their affordable housing that they're doing right now, I'm actually very pleased with. They have a 3-minute video online. You can look at the city councils. I was pleased with that because I think that there is an affordable housing issue. You can look all over the city, and they're charging the same amount in rent for a particular property that has roaches, that has mice, and versus elsewhere in the city that don't have these problems, and the rent is the same. That shouldn't be happening. People can't afford that. There are poorer people in this city that cannot get opportunities and cannot get ahead because they're paying out the waz, to these slumlords. These landlords that are taking advantage of them. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lacroix, name an accomplishment that you have achieved in a life that you are and most proud to say you completed. Name an accomplishment that you have achieved in your life and are most proud to say you have completed it.
Okay, thank you. And it's what I'm gonna tell you is part of my story when I got to Mexico, and I remember that when I got to the airport, and I didn't speak Spanish, not even a word, and I was supposed to go to study without speaking Spanish. So the immigration officer asked me something in Spanish I didn't understand, and I said, could you tell me in English? And she said, how come you're gonna study in Spanish? You don't speak Spanish. And I told her that I'm gonna learn. That's what I'm here for. So in 2 years and a half, I earned my master's degree, and I was very, very proud of that. Because I learned that you have to work hard for what you want. And here I'm in the U.S., and after being a professor of international law, I came here and I went back to school. I went to Hack, I get my associate, and I went to Millersville, I get my I'm having my bachelor. In fact, this is my last week at Millersville. I'll be out of school. So this time it's a bachelor with double major. So I'm proud of this accomplishment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Ishmael, candidates make promises, then break them. How are you different from those kind of candidates?
Thank you, Mr. Holland. I think the thing that really gets candidates is that we run and we have ideas about what it is that we are going to accomplish and what it is that we would like to accomplish. And oftentimes those ships break on the rocky shores of budgets and political opposition. Certainly, there are things I wanted to do in my first term on council that didn't get done, and I have to be honest about that. So the thing that I can promise you and that I can promise everybody here is I'm going to be honest about the places in which I screwed up as a council candidate and as a first-term councilor, and my hope is to learn from those lessons, and I think that that sets me apart from a lot of politicians out here today.
Ms. Dana, what is politically important to you and why?
So I think I touched base on this earlier, and the main reason I'm here is I'm pretty exhausted with the great divide we've started in our country, and I'm here to try and bring that our community back together. And I feel my ideas matter, Izzy's ideas matter. We should be able to sit down and say, hey, I have this idea, let's talk about it. Where can it go from here? Instead of blaming or pointing the finger all the time, we need to reflect on ourselves first. How can I be a better person and listen? How can Izzy be a better person and listen, right? So it's that relationship that we need to start building rather than tear each other apart. And that's what's important to me running this political race.
Thank you. Ms. Elizabeth, how do you feel about our police bureau? What would you do to change it?
I just want to kind of continue off with what Ethan was saying earlier. I think that definitely it's really important for us to continue to work on relationship with our police department. I think that that can only better us as a community. I think that having them, as Janet was saying, having the police department on foot is awesome. I love that. I think we need that. We need to get that back. I often remember many times, even in our agency, we're a drug and alcohol agency, having the police come in just because they were just so close and be able to help us. So I think it's important for them to know who we are, and for us to know who they are. And I think building relationships can only help our community, and I'm very much in support for that.
Thank you. I'm making this the last question from me. The next questions will be coming from the audience. I have Ms. Diaz. What type of program would you recommend for our city youth?
In reference to our city, we have a lot of different organizations. We have the Mix, we have the Girls and Boys Club. I think what we really need to do is to get more funding into these organizations so they can continue helping the children in our areas. So like that, when parents are not able to be at home, they're able to go to these after-school programs. If they need something to eat, that we make sure that these issues are resolved, because a lot of them do have social issues. I can say that I experienced that as a child. I wish I would have had the opportunity to have a place where I can go after school and a place where I could eat, because I know what it feels like to be homeless and also be hungry. So that's the most important thing, is to make sure some of these grant money, hopefully when we do get the money from the federal government, that we'll be able to allocate that to these agencies to continue helping our city.
Thank you. Ms. Faith, do you have a plan to address its Lancaster homeless problem?
So currently part of the plan to address the city's homelessness is some of the COVID dollars that are coming into the city. You know, as far as not rebuilding, but adding to current shelters and expanding them so that they have more space. And also, there's a, hello? Okay. Also, there is a mobile hygiene unit in the works, as well as social workers that go out and talk to the homeless and meet them where they are on their level, trying to get them the help that they need, because homelessness also comes from mental issues, drug abuse. You know, people are down on their luck. It comes from any number of things. So the social workers are a key component in addressing homelessness.
Thank you, ma'am. Next. Do you think the city should have a citizen review board for the city police bureau? Who do you think should be on as such group? Next person.
Would you please repeat?
Okay. Do you think the city should have a citizen review board for the city police? Who do you think should be on such a group?
Yes, I do think that the police need to be reviewed. And we know that our police officers are doing a good job, and we respect that. With all due respect, we think that there is a lot to be done. So we are going, if I'm elected, and I'll be working with the other council members in order to address the problems that we are facing in our police force. And we are going to work together in order to educate our police. And we will make the decision if who should be picked in order to what was the last part of the question? I forgot. I'm sorry.
And who you think should be on the group or the board?
Exactly. So we will decide in our meetings who should be on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Last question. You made me move what I was saying. We can ticket, back it up. We can ticket the street cleaners by a city employee, yes or no? Should we ticket a street cleaner by a city person, yes or no? Crazy question.
I'm not even sure I'm understanding the question.
Well, street cleaners are coming by to clean the streets.
Right.
And if they're not cleaning the streets, should you as a person ticket them?
Like as me as an individual?
As an individual.
No.
It's a crazy question.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Because I've seen street cleaners ride over and around stuff. And
well, you know what kind of authority would I have to do that?
You don't have any authority.
You know what I mean? Like
it was just one of those trick questions.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, I don't think we should do that.
Okay. Right now, I'd like to open it up to a question and answer of the group here. If you have something that you want to say, please raise your hand and we will stand up. Stand up, sir.
Yes, my name is David. I work for the school district. I'm not originally from here, but I've been here for 30 years. You can throw federal, state, and local money at any kind of situation, but what it really comes down to is that everybody here has to work collectively. Mayor, Janet Diaz, the elected people, you guys need to meet on a regular basis in order for anything to work. But you can't throw money at it. But I see Lancaster City as a great place. I've been here for a lot of years, and I've been a lot of places. And I don't see Lancaster City as a poor and a bad place, but we can do better, but we're not in bad shape. So all I'm saying to you is, if you guys come collective on a regular basis, I think things are going to improve a lot better. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else have a question? Then we shall move right along. I guess we're getting close to closing up, so City Council. Oh, 1 second.
Hello, my name is Priscilla Glover. My question is for the mayor. So I live on the 100 block of South Ann Street, and there are quite a few things going on there, which is a very interesting block. It's different than most blocks in the area. Two-part question. First question is, I feel like we have to have signatures from the residents to get permit parking. Neighbors have to get signatures from neighbors to get handicap parking. But for it to be a group home, neighbors don't even know there's a group home on the block. So what I wanted to know is, are there any laws against a person putting a private group home in a neighborhood without the neighbors knowing about it?
Thank you, Ms. Glover. We've been struggling with this, and you probably know the person who's in charge of this, which is Jameel Thrash, our zoning agent. There is currently a law that is being considered in Harrisburg that would require licensure, and in that way, we would be able to regulate group homes that are moving into the city. There is an interim licensure that they can get a certificate, but it doesn't address the cares and concerns that neighbors have related to a zoning petition and our ability to change the law related to zoning. And so we are working through that process, and we're really just waiting on the state to be able to advance that licensure requirement so that there's a consistency in a way that we could fairly address zoning issues across the city with one recognized state license.
Thank you. The second question is, I have a lot of people driving on the street, on the sidewalk, and I guess there's not a whole lot going on. I've been bringing this up to a lot of people, local governments, about this. And it's getting worse, actually. What it is that I have a lot of neighbors who drive down the sidewalk because they believe that the sidewalk belongs to the city, so they're allowed to drive down it. The police, it doesn't seem like they're doing too much about it. And maybe they are, but I'm just not seeing it. So what's going to be implemented to get these people to stop what they're doing? And what laws are there going to be to enforce to stop them to doing this?
So this is a great question, and your neighbor, Ms. Bird, had our chief of police, Chief Bay, out to talk about this very thing. And I appreciated that Darlene took the initiative to invite the police chief out to have that conversation. And I think that we need to consider the fact that in certain circumstances, there absolutely needs to be a police response first and foremost. I understand that when it is urgent. And in the instance in which there are neighbors that are, that you know, is it possible, and I don't know if this is possible, so I need you to tell me, to have a conversation with them first. Like, hey, this is not all right. And if that's not working, then you need to be calling the police and letting them know what's happening and when. The other problem is that we can't really enforce things, officers can't enforce things unless they're seeing them. And so that's a challenge for us because we can't be everywhere all at once.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just going to clarify a couple of the questions that were asked. I'm going to ask each candidate if they can give us their definition of regentification. I think, Ethan, you did. If we can just come down from there, and we would like to know what your definition of regentification is.
Honestly, this is the first time that I hear that word, regentification. I didn't have any idea about it, so it would be difficult for me to give a definition to that word.
Because we wrote what is gentrification, and you said regentification. Thank you. Next.
I'm praying for no squeaking. So, gentrification.
It's gentrification.
Gentrification.
All right.
Yes. So, gentrification is something that has been going on here in Lancaster since the early mid to late 70s when they did Old Town. So when I first moved to Lancaster, this is a long definition, so sorry, but when I first moved here, that where Old Town is, there it looked completely different. So when the developers came in and gentrification took over, changed the whole area, and the prices of the properties went up, pushing the people of color further down Duke Street. And that's exactly what I saw. So my definition of gentrification is when large developers come into an underprivileged area, remodel and redo houses in that particular community, and increase the selling price to something that the people that normally live there cannot afford, which further pushes them down the road.
Okay, thank you. Priscilla's over here with the timekeeper since I'm asking questions, so she's waving at you just so we all know. Okay, next.
Well, just to piggyback from Faith, it's when we have large developers coming to our little city of Lancaster and putting up millions of dollars of condominiums and making sure that no one here that works at a low rate, which is $7.24 an hour, are able to purchase a place. So they basically are being pushed out of the city into places where, like Columbia. So they're taking away people that have lived in Lancaster for 20, 25 years. We constantly have people coming out of state, purchasing homes, flipping them, and selling them for $200,000 to $300,000, which obviously in Lancaster, the people that work here are not able to afford them.
Agree with all of that, and I would add that I feel that it's a modern day segregation. I feel that it kind of reminds me of that when they tried to put affirmative action in place. I get why they tried it. I would, if I had to define it, I would just say it's a poor attempt to try to balance things out more. I understand the purpose of it. I get what they're trying to do with that. Obviously, we need to take a strong look at that, or we need to, again, come to the table. I'm a strong supporter of getting all the right people in the right place, having some important discussions, but obviously this has led to different disparities and people being really segregated into specific areas of towns and areas. And so I would love to see people be able to, everyone, to come to the point where you were all able to afford the same thing. And I'm all for helping. I think that definitely we should have things in place. But I think that at the end of the day, I don't know if that means I'm up or I'm okay. Thank you.
You got a mic?
Hello? Can you hear me okay? All right. So I agree with a lot of what everybody is saying, and so I'm not going to add to it much more, but I feel like there needs to be a balance, and I believe COVID brought out a lot of awareness of what's going on with being able to rent, being able to own a home, and it's just not happening right now for a lot of people because they're out of a job, they can't afford the rent that's happening. If we go and raise our taxes, that's going to trickle down to the renters who can't afford what the management is now charging. So there has to be a middle ground, and we have to figure out how we can have affordable housing and have those people in those neighborhoods respect the housing that they're living in.
Thank you.
Yeah, so gentrification is exactly that. That increase in property values and rent prices that forces people into displacement. And so anything that is jacking up property values and the cost of living without, a plan side by side to increase either the wealth and income of the people living in that community or their access to purchase or rent those homes. And it always comes side by side with wealth extraction. And we are in, the data shows it, the most wealth extracted community in Lancaster City. Research as far back as 2009 lets us know that $20 million leaves the southeast quadrant of Lancaster City, $20 million every year to landlords and property management companies who are not a part of this community, as far-flung as Portland, Maine, and Key West, Florida.
Thank you. Thank you. No, yeah.
So I have a perfect example of gentrification in my mind, and it's right over the hill. That house on 14 East Farnham Street that's currently pending for $599,000. That is utterly ridiculous. Now, that's great that they're going to get that much money, but what happens to the people like my in-laws who live just 2 blocks down on South Prince? There's no way that they're going to be able to afford to live there much longer, because as the people who are able to afford those prices come in, everything else gets jacked up. So that is a prime example in our city of Lancaster. And also, if you want to look at the 0 block of West Lemon Street, which is right around the corner from my house, they took out 3 houses in order to put green space. However, if you go there, there isn't a blade of grass. There's just little tufts of flowers. That's not green space. That was the people who were living in those apartments did not want to look down and see a house that was only worth $39,000, which happens to be how much I bought my house for. And that's it. So that's my definition.
Hello, I am Betty Jones from South End Concerned Neighbors, and I sat and listened to all the questions and everything that was asked tonight. And one thing that concerns me and it's heavy on my heart, the homeless people. I'm from South Carolina, okay, and when I moved here, I was like, this was a beautiful place to come because it reminded me of South Carolina. But seeing the homeless people, I was shocked to see homeless people sleeping on the streets. And wintertime and summertime, my church, we go out and help feed the people. So I'm asking and employed to the council, what will you do to try to help these homeless people? All these buildings that I see going there, they're empty buildings. And then all of a sudden I found out these houses are being built for people that got multi-millionaires. Well, what about the homeless people? Why can't that hospital, I see that hospital is empty. Why can't that be made affordable for people? I mean, I'm not talking about no little bit of, money. Some people don't have money. So why can't something be allotted for the homeless people that don't have money? I mean, you know, this city, Lancaster is supposed to be the city that cares for people, will care for the homeless also, because they have a voice. Some people don't even think about them, but I'm thinking about them. The homeless people need to have a place that they can go to at night and in the wintertime when everybody is in their house nice and warm. What about these people? That's what I want to know. What would you guys do to help support the homeless people, give them a place to live?
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay, yes. It's working. So this one's near and dear to my heart because we do have people sitting on the streets day in and day out, not having a piece of food to eat, a home to sleep in. These are veterans that fought for our freedom, right? It's not okay to have them on the street. It's not okay to have somebody with mental health illness on the street. So what's the root cause? Maybe mental health from serving in a war, maybe trauma from a childhood. We have to start treating these people like human beings because they are. And so we have to talk to them. We have to get to the root cause of what's going on and what's wrong and how can we help and what resources are out there to help them. Because a lot of the time when I'm talking to the homeless, I'm asking, do you want help? Where have you gone for help? And it's a closed door. So we have to open those doors to access for these homeless people to understand where they can go and how they can get back up on their feet.
Thank you.
Well, could I answer really briefly? Could I respond to that real quickly? First, I think I loved what you said. I think you should run. I think that was just absolutely beautiful what you said about the homeless, and I'm glad that you care about that. That's the reason that I'm running, is that I believe there has to be something done. I was speaking with a homeless man who's receiving something in the ballpark of $100 a month, and the reason he's receiving that money is because he has a serious mental condition. But they're only giving him $100 a month? That's nothing. That's not helpful. That gives him enough to eat something and barely get by. Barely get by. Something needs to be, and the first thing we need to do is recognize that it is a problem. And like you said, not just give them a little bit of money, not give them chump change, but give them what they need to live and not just survive, but thrive in this community. That's what they need. Whether that's housing, whether that's, jobs, whatever we can do to do that, we need to find a way to make that happen. There are experts. There are people that city council can look to and they can draw from and solve these problems. But the first step is recognizing, like you said, that it is an issue and that these people need help. And I don't want to just say, and we don't treat them any different. We don't treat them any less. There are a lot of them that are veterans, absolutely. But we don't want to help them just because they're veterans. We want to help them because they're human beings made in the image of God. Okay? So I know our time's up, and I'm passionate about that. So thank you. Yeah.
Good evening, guys. My name is Nina Clotilde. I am one of the hosts of a show called Hip Hop and Politics, sponsored by the TCP Network. I'm going to ask you some questions from our social media platform and some of the viewers that are tuning in now. The first question is from Art G. Brunson. He asks, how close are we to having officers actually walk the beat again?
Did the mayor step out? All right. We are actually, that's an excellent question, and shout out Art. But we are actually very close to this. Since Chief Bay has come in, it has been very much a night and day switch, and he has done a really excellent job as interim chief. And where previously we were told that management and administration could not ask certain things of our officers and departments, Chief Bay has come in and said, I'm in charge, this is what we're doing now. And so that means a return to bike patrols, a return to police presence at community events, increasing the number of community engagement officers, as well as increasing police social workers in the city. I'll take a second to shout out another program that Chief Bay is partnering with, which last month saved 2 lives. The city of Lancaster is partnering with a countywide program from Blueprints for Addiction Recovery. And so this is peer response. So these are folks that have been in addiction, been in mental health issues, and they're showing up to crisis incidents with police. And there were 2 last month. You can check our first council meeting where Chief Bay gave his report last month, and you can hear about the 2 lives that were saved. Thank you.
Awesome. Next question is from Kimberly Cunningham. She asks, what is your view on that current taxation in the city? Go ahead and take it, Press.
So the current taxation in the city is it's frankly too high. Now that's not municipal taxes isolated, but the tax wedge. So you're talking about more than 23 mills from the school district, talking about 3 mills from the county, talking about 11 mills, and a mill is $1 for every $1,000 that your house is worth. Coming in, and all of that stacks on top, and it makes it so that a lot of our most vulnerable folks can't afford their property. I'm going to nerd out a sec. Pennsylvania has a uniformity clause. All taxes in Pennsylvania are flat. So we're not empowered to give a special break for seniors, and we're not empowered to tax folks whose property value is lower or less outside of the assessment process. And the hope is that with changes to the earned income tax policy and the local services tax policy, along with money from the American Rescue Plan, we're going to be able to not just increase services, but maybe we can talk about preventing the next several tax increases that are going to price people out of Lancaster City. That's something I'm looking forward to. Thank you.
Got it. I have one more, and this comment is actually from Venus Ricks, who clarifies gentrification for us. She states that gentrification is a process of neighborhood change that includes economic change in historically disinvested neighborhood by means of real estate investment and new higher income residents moving in, as well as demographic change, not only in terms of income level, but also in terms of the education level. Thought that was pretty well said. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
We just talked about gentrification, and as we all know, we do have all these investors coming into the city. But as city council members, you have to know that is important as well. So I think the question is, how do you manage these investors so that we still produce affordable housing, but yet we do not discourage investors from coming in? What will you as city council do to help it a win-win? And I'll ask all the council candidates.
I guess I'll start and we'll just go down the line. Does that work? I would say that I like the way that you had said it being a win-win. I think it's important to bring people in that are going to invest in the community, but also to create that affordable housing. Part of the issue is that the housing we currently have is absolutely dastardly. It is mismanaged, and it is beaten up. You can go all over the city. There's roach infestations, mice infestations. Porches are falling apart. So as a city, we need to invest the money in building and taking care of what we already have. When we do that, the properties that are owned in this area by lower income residents, that will increase in value intrinsically. So we can increase their value, their property value, by fixing up their homes and by encouraging through legislation the landlords to manage their properties much better than they are right now. Yeah, that's all.
One thing we can do in order to solve this problem of affordable housing crisis is that we can negotiate with those investors, and we can offer them some tax incentive, and while we require them to include some new units of affordable housing in the project. So that way people will have access to affordable housing. And the other thing that we can do, we can also partnership with a non-profit organization to give some the people who are not earning enough to keep up with the expensive rent prices. We can partnership with those organizations in order to give training, skills training to those people so they can get a better paying job in order to keep up with those expensive prices. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so gentrification and affordable housing. Gentrification is going to happen. I don't think there is a way that we can stop private investors from coming into the city, snatching up properties, and refurbing those properties and raising the prices. But when you have like an investor coming in to do like a development, if we can keep track of them, a lot of times they have to go through zoning, and when they have to go through zoning and planning and other things like that, they have to come before council. So part of my job currently, chairing community planning, is when the investors do come in with these larger projects and they don't want to put affordable housing in them, part of my job is to more or less to hold that up until we can negotiate a better deal. So with the two projects that are currently, there's two projects that are currently on the table, and that's Lancaster and King that will have some affordable housing in it. And the UPMC project on College Avenue will have, if I'm not mistaken, 120 affordable houses in that. So thank you.
I think that I would just kind of almost piggyback off of what you guys are already saying. I think that we need to bring these investors to the table, absolutely, and we need to work on some incentives because it's not going to go away. If anything, they're going to still be here. They're going to keep coming, and they're going to, unless we do something to incentivize them to make changes, it will continue. And so I would say you've all said it well, and that's all I'm going to do is I'm going to say that we definitely need to do that if we're going to continue, if we're going to even make a dent in this process.
So as investors come into the city, I think there are a few questions that need to be asked. How much will the units cost and why? How many jobs will it create? And what are the long-term effects of those investors being here within the city? And then we can determine a decision from there.
Thank you.
So I think, pardon me. So I think there are really three strong strategies, especially with a new influx of money, that we can take to sort of split the difference for our investors and for people who are in need of affordable housing, as Darlene mentioned. The most obvious one is direct investment with a twist. We need to be investing directly in purchasing homes and properties for affordable housing. Like if you look at the funds that are available to house homeless people, many of those funds end up getting sent back to the federal government because the rents are too high for the federal government program to support them. So money comes into the community to house people and goes right back out. So until we're investing directly in supply, we're never gonna have the units to put people into. And here's the twist. To give communities sort of resilience against the forces of gentrification, we need to do community land trusts, allow communities to come together as nonprofits and as land trusts to own properties and housing collectively, and as neighborhoods and blocks decide the future of those communities. And that's a thing. There are so many laws that prevent us from doing things like rent freezes, rent control, et cetera, within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but there's no law against that. That's a thing we can do.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question? We're moving right along. Come on, sir.
How's it going, y'all? Thanks for having me. I'm actually a co-host of Hip Hop and Politics on TCP Network. My name is Dominique, and I have a question in regards to our young people as well in this city. How do you think you can build a coalition with the school board, and how important is it to invest in the young learners, the young people in our community outside the realm of academia and athletics, etc.? Oh, my bad. Yeah, anybody can answer that. Honestly, I would like to hear from everybody but Izzy, because me and Izzy talk about this. I just want to hear what y'all guys say for real.
So repeat the question for me, please.
So how can we support our young people outside of the realm of academia and athletics, but also how can the city council build a coalition between city council and our local school board for the learners of the school district of Lancaster?
Okay, so the city council and school board. I remember hearing something a little while back before COVID that we were working on trying to collaborate the meeting of the minds between school board and city council. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it still exists, but it's worth looking into. So I'll do that. And how we can benefit our youth.
Sorry, yes, how we can support our youth outside of school and athletics or sports and stuff like that.
Well, we can support our youth outside of school, making sure that the programs that are out there for the kids to go to are well supervised so that they can get lunch if they need to get lunch. They can have tutoring if they need tutoring, and just be all around supportive of them. I mean, I have 17 grandkids, okay? I need to have them supported. They don't need to go running around out in the street in the summertime. They need to be in like the rec center and Crispus Attucks and the Mix and the Boys Club. They need to be in all the programs. So support the programs that are out there that support our youth.
Miss Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Miss Elizabeth. Give her the mic. Here you go, right here.
I think that with city council, I think it would be really important to have some connection with the students and meeting with them directly, regularly. I think that would be important. You know, face-to-face is always the best way to establish relationships, and I'm a strong believer in that. Part of being a social worker for so long is that connection with people is extremely important. And I think that is why we need strong programs. I think we need a lot of we have great programs for youth. I think that it would be great to see them better funded, more money coming in, so that this can be used as connection. Building relationships in the community with our youth would be very important, I think, and I think being a part of using what's already out there would be what I would strongly recommend, because the programs are wonderful, you know, just really great programs for them to be involved in and for us to be a part of that as well.
Thank you.
So am I there? Yes. I had an idea one night, and I had thought about what age does a child learn about money? And I don't know the answer because I don't have kids, but we need to teach kids the importance of budgeting, the importance of financing, so that when they do get a job, they have this pride that what they have is theirs because they earned it. And I feel if we can start that at a younger age, they'll just be more successful in understanding what they have and being proud for what they worked for.
Thank you. We have one more question.
Hi, my name is Tanae Darby. Most of you know that I am the Democratic City Chair. My question for council is, we are a welcoming city, which means we are very diverse. We talked about community, bringing people to the table. You as counselors, how would you bring all these multicultural races, ethnicities, religions together? Because right now, there's a lot of division within the country. There's a lot of things going on. Our Asian communities under attack. How can we, or what can you do to bring us together?
Thank you.
I'd like to answer. I think, and I'm glad you brought up that point because it's something that I wanted to speak on tonight. It's important that we have people that are role models and people that we can look up to in the community that are fair and are just people. That you would look at, you would describe that is a just person. That is someone who is, who doesn't discriminate against others. And more than that, but takes an active approach in fighting against discrimination. So it's not, we can't allow ourselves to become complacent. We can't just sit there and say, I don't discriminate against others. It's no, I have a responsibility, not just as a council person, but as a human being to fight against injustice and against discrimination. And to that point, as so far as it goes, encouraging others to come together as a community, a diverse community. I wouldn't want to force that on anybody, but I would encourage people, and I would hold events in certain, like I guess events would be the word, where people can come together and share their differences. We have that in the community already, and we can be doing that more. And not in a way that's segregating. Okay, this is specifically for African Americans. This is for Asians. This is for white folk. But for everybody, and we can all come together and celebrate our differences rather than pointing them out. That's what I would encourage.
Thank you. I would say the time is starting to get late here. So, with saying that, each candidate will get a minute to close. And after that, then I'll give my special thanks. Starting from you, sir.
All right. So I was intrigued by the question of who do you admire the most? My answer would be Jesus the Christ. Who is living today. I think about, what he modeled by washing his disciples' feet. I believe that if I want to really be great, I have to be servant of all. I'm here, sitting here today, because I want to be servant to all. I hope that you guys give me the opportunity to serve you. If you don't, I understand, and hopefully I will be able to find other ways that will be just as impactful. So thank you.
I want to thank everybody for being here and for the valuable time. I know that we all have things to do at home and at their work, but time is very important. So I want to thank the candidates, to be here, for being here with us. And if there is anything that we didn't talk about, that is related to the city, all the issues that the city is facing, so please feel free to reach out. We'll be available to answer your questions. So thank you very much. And we all care about the city. We want a stronger city, a sustainable city. So we cannot do it without your vote. So we count on your vote in order to be able to do it. So thank you so much, and thank you for listening to me.
So first off, thank you, South Ann Street Concerned Neighbors, Nan, and Crispus Addicts for hosting this evening's event. I'm always so nervous before these things happen that I work myself up into a tither. But nonetheless, I would love to continue serving on city council to help the city with some of the things that are near and dear to me. You know, affordable housing. We talked a lot about gentrification, and you know, I think they all kind of tie in together. Helping build a better relationship between the community and the police, especially the Black and brown community. And at this point, we can include the Asian community because, you know, they're on attack. They're in attack situations as well. So, and pray God we recover from COVID sometime in the near future so that we can get back to some sense of normalcy. So I would appreciate your support on May 18th. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
I also want to say thank you to Nan and to Crispus Attucks for the support and hosting, and just for all that you have done in the community as well. I want to say that the reason that I decided to run for city council is because I have been in social work for so many years. I've dedicated my life to social services and working in the community with individuals who are homeless, who are struggling with trauma and addiction. And I would very much like to bring that and feel that it could be an asset to the city council and helping to address a lot of these issues that have just been ongoing. And I would love to be able to get the opportunity to do that. And so I'm asking for your vote. And I just so appreciate you coming out here, taking your time to be here today. I know you could be somewhere else, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so I feel I'm here to lift the community up, and I know in return that the community will lift me up while I learn and listen to the residents. And I'm not here to change anyone. I want you to come be who you are, because that's what matters. And I'm here to fix the broken systems that we live in, and I feel wholeheartedly that it can be done with a group of people like us. You know, I don't want you to look here and say, I'm an R, Izzy's a D. I want you to look and say, this could make a great team within our city to get the job done. And so that's what I want everybody to look at. There's more than one view, and it's all of our views. How can we bring that all together and make change? So thank you for having me, and I hope to see you in the future.
There we go. Yeah, so I'll just start by, of course, thanking Crispus Attucks National Action Network and South End Concerned Neighbors. For 4 years now, I've had the honor of being on your city council, and for a year and a half, had the honor of being council president. I've worked on multiple campaigns, ran my own, and nothing is as good as this space where people are directly engaging you and directly holding you accountable for what you have done and what you have not yet done. And I hope that as we are preparing, you know, as those of us who have held these offices before, put ourselves up for re-election, we're prepared to be accountable to those things. And I'm really excited to continue to have that conversation through the primary and into the general, and to continue to get to know everybody up here that I don't know yet, because it is these contested primaries that make us better as candidates and as communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I would like the audience come with me, give the council a hand of applause. Special thanks go out to Crispus Attucks Center, Community Action Partnership, Lancaster National Action Network, the South Ann Street Concerned Neighbor Organization, TCP. On the back table back there, they have some literature that you can pick up. And please remember to vote May 18th. The polls open at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Vote or mail. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Drive carefully. Okay. All right. I can take the work.
No, we're saying somebody was watching it on TCP. They said it's good.
Oh, okay.
You know, because something like this is more informal.
Right.
That's why I said, we don't know until it actually happens.
What's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all? I appreciate everybody tuning in. Let me mask off. I appreciate everybody still tuning in. If you're watching, make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Hip Hop and Politics is here. We're gonna have a couple sit downs with a couple candidates that are still running. If you're watching, please share. And please leave a couple questions as well, because we're gonna have a few candidates. And I'm also gonna have my lovely co-host, she popping up on me right now. Well, what's up, y'all? It's Tuesday night. You know the vibes. You know the vibes. Can I get a stand too, my brother?
It's totally fine.
And we're gonna get my man Lacard first. Lacard, what's going on, man? Come take a seat. Come take a seat with me, man. So Lacard, we talked a little bit tonight, right, about your take on some of the issues that we have in Lancaster. But I want to sit down with you and talk a little bit further about that. Why should the people of Lancaster vote you in for city council? What would you do to make changes specifically? Obviously as a unit, but what are some of the thoughts that you have for the collective?
So, let me tell you, people should vote for me because Lancaster is the only place in the U.S. that I have lived in. And, I've raised my kids here, and my family lives here, and I've been here for 9 years, and I haven't moved to anywhere else. So, and I care about the community. I speak the languages that most people speak in the community. So I feel that I'm really close to the people. I can be a bridge between the government and the people.
Testing.
So, and I'm of the people, I'm before the people.
Testing.
And I'm ready.
Could I have your attention?
I decided to step up.
There's some items over here on the table if you want to take them with you before you leave.
Contribute to the development of the city.
I appreciate that. And you know what? I can honestly tell that you're sincere about what you're saying. You do represent our community. We are a welcoming city. What can you do specifically with the fact that you're a parent, right? How do you think you can support our families, our students, our first-time English learners in the school district of Lancaster? Because I'm big on the kids, man.
Yeah. For example, let me tell you, I'm an immigrant, and I have been an immigrant from 2 countries. So I know what it means, to not to be able to speak the language. And let me tell you, for example, the students who are at school who don't speak English, I mean, they are frustrated. So they need support. It's important to give them, for example, time to do their homework, encourage group work, okay, be in touch with their families, because most of the time, sometimes their families don't speak English either. So I think that if I'm elected, I would be the first immigrant in the council, and I will talk to the other council members about this issue, and we will come up with a solution because I care about that. When I came here, I didn't have access to government, and it was hard for me. I have to start over. So I know what it means, to be in the shoes of those people, those students, who are children of immigrants or who are immigrants themselves. So I care about them, and I'm gonna fight for them.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that, man. And you know what? I do want to say thank you for being sincere. Thank you for being real with us about that. I just wonder, Nina, like, are we really a welcoming city if we've never had an immigrant on our city council? Like, that's just, like, it's weird to me that you say that.
We definitely are a welcoming city, but we don't have the diversity on our city council to cater to all of the cultures that we have here in Lancaster. And I think by you being on council, you'll be helping to get rid of that.
Because there are thousands of new Americans here living in Lancaster. You guys know, based on the history history of Lancaster, this is a city that always welcomes immigrants. But a lot of categories of those immigrants are not represented, you know, in the city council, and they don't have access to government. So they need to be represented and well represented.
I agree with you, bro. I agree with you, man.
Do you think that more there should be more of a welcoming party or agency to bring people to Lancaster, for people that arrive here in Lancaster? Do you think there's someone that should take them around to show them different resources and benefits that they can take advantage of when they're first arriving here?
Exactly, that's what I'm running for, because one of the issues on my platform is access to our local government. Imagine that you have some immigrants who are living in Lancaster, they don't even know when they have to put their trash out. And they feel marginalized. They've been living here for years, but they don't integrate it in the society. So this is a problem.
So you feel like you can be a liaison between immigrants and the rest of the city?
That's the main reason I'm running.
Okay.
You know, I want to be the bridge between those people and the government, but I'm going to represent everybody.
What challenges do you think you're going to face after being elected onto council?
So, you know, being the first immigrant on the council, you know,
you think that's going to be a big challenge?
Pressure.
Exactly. To bring, to break with the tradition in the council, you know, because they have their way of thinking. So for years, it's not easy to break those, you know, those rules, the culture that they have. But, you know, it's going to take time, but it's not impossible, you know. So most of the time, you're going to have to work with people you disagree with. Every time, even if it's on the council, at your job. So you have to be prepared to work with people who disagree with you. You can disagree with me, but we got to get it done.
Right.
I hear that.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Carl. We appreciate you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Every time I meet you guys, you always give me the opportunity. I'm very fortunate.
That's what we're here for.
That's exactly what we're here for, man. And we ready for you to make changes, brother. Let's do it. Good luck, man.
Thank you so much.
Hey, we're going to keep this thing rolling.
Yes, next we have Miss Molly Henderson here to share a little bit about her thoughts on the meeting. Oh, and Jen.
Awesome, awesome. I'm excited. Welcome back, ladies. Welcome back. It's totally up to you. I'm double vaccinated. You're closest to me, but slide one over.
Are these alive?
Yes, we're good to go. We're live. So, let's talk a little bit about this forum that was just held. Right. I want to get your reactions. I did mention that little ticker at the end because we did talk about a rebuilding some type of, not rebuilding, but building some type of coalition between council and school board. What was your take on the conversation that was tonight?
Am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Actually, I really wanted to piggyback on one of the questions, but we weren't up to talk, and there was that talk about property taxes. And I'm hearing from a lot of people, even people who are dedicated school district of Lancaster loving folks who are like, I might have to make a decision between living here because the property taxes are so high. It's a decision I'm willing to make, but I don't know how long I can. And one of the things that I think that we really need to note here is part of the reason the school district of Lancaster is in this lawsuit in litigation for equal funding is because it has caused oppression within our own community. It has caused different people to not be able to, that's the wrong direction to go in. I think the fact is we're going to be able to possibly provide some relief for the community. If we're able to win equitable funding lawsuit, if we're able to get any legislation passed or something that's going to be more permanent, that will be more funding for the district to work with from the state level, and we are going to be able to possibly provide some relief for families, and that's not a small thing. The coalition building piece, though, with City Council is something that I'm really excited about, and maybe some of you have heard me talk about it. But when nonprofit organizations and churches have property, they don't necessarily pay property taxes. They can pay in lieu of taxes.
But they don't.
But they don't always. And those negotiations often happen at tables that we're not necessarily at. So I would love to know more, and Molly can chip in on this, but I'd love to know more about how we work on those and how we make sure that there is either incentive or some kind of recompense to the district because they're not seeing that money.
In the city of Lancaster, it's roughly 20%. Roughly 20% of the geography is tax exempt. That can be colleges, schools, churches, nonprofit organizations. I know that Lancaster General does a good job in lieu of taxes with providing health care at the schools, and just trying to help. The tax issue is a lot, particularly for older senior citizens that have to make the decision, am I going to stay here, retire here, or am I going to move on? And to Jen's point, it is in the state's constitution, actually written in the Constitution of Pennsylvania, that it is to fund public schools and make sure there's fair funding. And they don't. They don't. And when you have, and not to pick on particular districts or anything, but some districts are landlocked, like Lancaster City, Columbia. They can't build and build and build, so they get more tax revenue, like Penn Manor or Manhattan Township or the other schools. So there's this imbalance, tremendous imbalance. Way back to your other question, I think it might be a nice thing and a good thing to have a representative from the school board attend city council meetings and act in an advisory capacity, and maybe the other way back. That would be good because the school district is huge. Right. You have what, 11,000 students. It's a huge employer, and it covers the entire community. So I think it's the school and the district are such a huge part of the city and should be included in all that.
I agree 100%.
Do you guys think that the school district is going to find different resources going forward to satisfy some of the areas that they're lacking in?
And what do you mean lacking in?
Supplies, things that teachers are coming out of pocket for.
Right. I mean, I would assume that any kind of new, excuse me, I'm assuming that any kind of new revenues are going to be used, hopefully with intentionality and used strategically to see where we are not currently funding at levels that they're needed, and needed being different than the same as every school. So hopefully that there will be, additional ways that will look at resources, but also at a systemic way, because when you look at economies of scale, you can also purchase more at when you're purchasing in a wholesale rate. And I'm kind of going in a different direction there, but I think the point is that we should have some flexibility, and that's really important because we're putting a lot on our teachers. We're asking them to wear a lot of hats, and we're asking them to do a lot of things out of pocket. So I think that particularly after COVID, we have an opportunity to look at how we do things. I know that right now our current slate mates are in a school board meeting and they're in the middle of budget season. They're like talking these things. So I'm kind of looking forward to go back and watching the tapes. But they're saying, what do we do with this COVID crisis money? How do we use it strategically? But also that's not going to be here forever. So how do we make sure that we use it in a way that is focused on our priorities? Yes, that is efficient and that it will have long-term impacts. The other thing I do want to say, and this goes back to, and I'm sorry, Molly, I've been talking a little bit too much, but I want to go back to some of the ways that our school district also already works with community partners to braid funding models. And that is something I'm not currently as familiar how we do. But when the community school models in the school district of Lancaster started, one of the main premises is that we get some of our stakeholders and major social workers, community-based organizations invested in such a role in the schools, like Lincoln is a community school, that they own a part of that financially. They could be a financial, a fiduciary, a pass-through, but they can help bring their services through the schools and share in the responsibility for how that, so it doesn't all fall onto the school districts. And so I think that there is opportunities to look at where that is currently happening, what's working, and what do we want to enhance so that we can really give our students the programs that they need.
I would agree that I think there needs to be more community involvement, particularly with the business community and the Chamber of Commerce. Not to the point where I've seen it floated that you would have advertisements or whatever for a particular business in a school building. I don't think we want to do that. But I think there can be apprenticeships, going out for workshops, for
I
all
would love
sorts
to
of
see
things.
businesses help to support the dual enrollment programs and help to support students that are looking to continue to advance
I really think
their
there could
education.
be. Yeah, I don't
I think we can imagine.
there's enough community involvement in the school, the business and
I
industry.
agree with that.
I agree.
Although I also don't want to privatize, so let's just keep that
I mean,
straight.
I would say this, like to sum this up, I think that I agree with you both. I would love to see some local businesses invested into our students more. I wouldn't mind seeing those advertisements because you're going to see some type of advertisement everywhere. So why not it be a local business so these young people know instead of going to Walmart, instead of going to Giant, instead of going to Target, I can go somewhere in my community, invest right back into them. And maybe I just might meet the owner of that business who can teach me a little bit how to start my own business right here in
That's a
Lancaster
great
City.
point.
So, but hey, ladies, we appreciate y'all. And
Thank
you are always
so
welcome
much.
back.
I appreciate it.
Thank
2
you,
weeks in a
thank
row.
you.
Thank you both. Have a great night.
Yes, you too. And watch some tapes. Tell us about the budget. It sounds like we're going to have to come back and do this again.
Also,
Definitely.
I would be remiss if I didn't shout out
Plug
the
it.
PA punning. Hello, the PA Fair Funding Rally will be on March 15th at 10 a.m. I'm
10
talking
a.m.
to you all. Please come out to Victory Field in front of McCaskey. We're setting up a really fantastic program of speakers, entertainers, McCaskey Drumline, and then we're going to march to Binns Park, and we're going to rally. We want to show how much we support our school district.
Be there, be square. TCP will be there. Hip hop and politics will be
You
there.
know what? You guys
know.
are always wondering what's the best way to get involved, right?
Exactly.
What can you do? How can your voices be heard? This is an awesome opportunity, y'all.
Bring your kids. Bring
Come
your
on
mask.
now.
Make some
Bring your
signs.
kids and bring your mask and make a sign, and we're going to be there, and we're going to have a great time. Shout out to my brother Terry and Mac. He's performing. I'm so excited. So we're going to get it in. Ladies, again, thank y'all for being here. We appreciate you. Have a blessed night.
Thank you. You know, my son, I think you know my son, Andrew Henderson.
That sounds very familiar.
When did you graduate?
Hey.
I knew Andrew.
No. You know Andrew.
Yep.
Okay.
Class
okay.
of 2002.
Yeah, he's
Well,
he's been watching.
Miss Molly, what do you think being on the board is going to be your biggest conflict going forward? What's going to be your biggest challenge you're facing? And what do you think you're going to do to resolve it?
The reason I've come back, sort of out of retirement, I used to be head of public health here in the city and county commissioner and did a lot of different things. But it just seems to me, with my background in education, I have a doctorate in policy from Temple, go out.
Ooh, let's go to you. Shout out Philly. I was just, my bad.
And my real background is public health. So this seems like a really good time for me to come back with COVID. And they're going to work a lot on lead paint. And there was some questions tonight from the council. I just wanted to go, code enforcement. But it seemed like a good time to come back.
Well, we're excited to have you back. Let's
Thank
get
you.
this work in. You know what we say here on Hip Hop and Politics? you
That's
gonna
what
do
we
with
say.
all of that experience? We need it. We need it right here.
I'm
Next
gonna
year.
ask
Yeah.
questions. I'm gonna put my hand up.
Let's do it.
To ask questions.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Good luck on your campaign.
Thank you.
Awesome. We're gonna keep this going right along.
Got
Come on, you
Ethan
get
here
right to
with
it.
us.
How you doing, sir?
Good. How about you?
Dominique, nice to meet you. Matt, you can mask or take your mask off.
take
Totally
that
up to
off.
you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you.
So this was a great conversation we had tonight. Nina, what do you think about it?
I think I've learned a lot more about my community tonight and the people that are advocating for it. I really like this young, fiery one we have here. He sounds like he's really passionate about equality and everybody getting a fair shake, especially homelessness. Tell us what point during the meeting today really sparked your interest and made you feel like you couldn't wait another minute to share your feelings.
Yeah, so homelessness, that was a huge issue for me coming into this. I wanted to talk about it, I wanted to discuss it, and there wasn't really an opportunity. I felt like the questions I was getting weren't really directed towards that, which is fine, which is good. There were plenty of good questions. But I wanted to speak to that issue. When that woman came up and asked that question, I felt like I had to respond because that's something that's really on my heart. What's practical? We can talk about fiscal policy, we can talk about infrastructure, and those things definitely matter. But when I step outside my door, there are people on the street, sleeping outside on the street, people that don't have homes, that don't have good clothing, that can't afford almost anything, and that's something that I believe needs to change.
How do you feel that you relate to the people in which you're wanting to serve?
Yeah, so personally me, I'm not homeless. But I did grow up, my family, I think we were making less than $25,000 a year, very low income, on food stamps. It was my single mother and me and my two sisters. And so to a smaller degree, I understand what it's like to not have. Now, I was fortunate enough to be blessed in a lot of ways, monetarily even, and, we live in America, you know what I mean? We live, and even the place I lived in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, growing up, I was blessed in a lot of ways, but I still have that heart for people that don't have. And I think about some of the stuff that I didn't have, and I can't imagine not having anything. I can't not imagine having a roof over my head. That is some basic stuff that needs to be addressed. And in this community, I feel like it is a pervasive issue. It is almost somewhat of a pandemic in itself. That we have people out here that not just are homeless, but are struggling with real mental health problems, and are also homeless. So that's something that needs to change.
What do you think are the best ways to go about policing communities and community policing?
Okay. So is this a separate question from the homelessness, or do you think
It's a separate? We're moving
Okay.
on. We gotta
All right,
keep
we're
moving.
on. Okay. I think I support police. I'm going to come out and I'm going to say I support police. I believe that they need to use force in certain parts of their job. If someone is, clearly a threat to those around them, I believe the police not only do they have the option, but I believe they have the responsibility to apprehend that person, even if it takes force. There are certainly limits. They certainly should not be going out and discriminating or using force not on the actual threat, but on the person's skin color. That's a no-go. When you're using force, for any other reason than someone is a clear and present danger, to me that could be discrimination, and that's not right. And we need to be active as community members. I believe City Council, I believe the mayor has a responsibility to make sure that isn't happening. But I believe then we also have a responsibility to the police to make sure that they can do their job without fear. Just like the people should be able to go around and go about their business without fear. I believe it's both. And we have to make sure that the legislation that we pass affects positively both the community and the police.
I like that. I like the answer. How do you feel about anti-racism?
Okay, that's good, because it's not. I like the way that you said that too, because it's not just about not being racist. It's about being anti-racist.
Definitely.
So actually going out and being somewhat of a social justice warrior and coming out there and say, not only am I not racist, but I condemn all of that. I think that is wrong. I think social injustice is a problem that needs to be addressed. So being an active champion in that, and not just saying I don't do it, because that leads to complacency. That leads to complacency.
Agreed. I like that answer as well. So, in regards to, I like to bring it back a little bit, right? Because you mentioned homelessness, mentioned mental health issues. A lot of our community that is being discriminated by the police, right? Don't have the adequate needs that they should have, right? How do you feel police should respond to maybe someone that is, suffering from mental health issues, but doesn't have something like a house, doesn't have somewhere to call their own? What type of force do you think? Even we just had a tragic event that happened last year here in this city, right? So, what other means do you think they should take to be proactive rather than just reactive? But also, when you're right there, what would you take?
Yeah, so I believe that the police, like I said, again, I do want to say to do support police. And I believe that when they find themselves in tough situations, they have to make judgment calls. And they're human beings. We're putting, these are human beings who are trained, but they are human beings. And are they held to a higher standard? Absolutely. To a certain degree, they are held to a higher standard because of their training and because of their experience and because of the job. But we also have to understand that people make mistakes, humans make mistakes, and we need to be able to, discern adequately whether these are mistakes that are resulting from, them being discriminatory or from them being negligent, or if these are mistakes that, any person might make in this kind of scenario. I don't want to speak too specifically to the last. I know what you're talking about.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
But you get the
And the police, they need to be informed, and a lot of times they aren't. They're going to be the ones that are going to assess the situation. They have to be able to recognize, okay, this person might have a mental health disorder, and I need to handle this differently than I would with maybe someone else.
Sure.
So they have to make that judgment call, and we as a community also have to be careful not to too quickly judge either side, either the community, the people that are involved being arrested, and also the police. And we have to be careful not to judge them too harshly either, but judge them in accordance with their skill set, their experience, their training. Yeah.
Do you think that it's important that police officers are a part of the same community that they're serving?
Absolutely. So I come from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. My dad is a police officer in Williamsport. He's also a part of the special response team, and he's out and about. He's going around the community. He knows people. He's involved in people's lives, and I think that is very important. If you see a police officer strolling down the street in a vehicle and you don't know who they are, I could understand you being concerned. I could understand, even me, like I'm not, someone who's often discriminated against, but even myself, I'll be walking down the street. I'm a little concerned with the police. I mean, nobody, in their right mind, when a police officer pulls up behind them on the highway, do they speed up, or really, most people put on the brake. It's a natural reaction. So, but if you know them and you have a relationship with them and at least know the guy, this is a good guy, I've talked with him, I've spoken with him, I think both parties aren't going to want to discriminate against each other because they know each other,
Well, before we get out of here, I want to ask one final question, if you don't mind. Why do you think the citizens of Lancaster, PA should vote for you rather than your counterparts that spoke tonight? What do you think you bring to the table that they don't?
So a lot of them I actually met today, and I don't want to take an approach of bashing them or saying anything negative about them.
Yeah, there's no mudslinging.
Right. But I do believe that it comes down to compassion, to love, to an actual care for the community. The policy issues will come after. I'm dedicated to learning about what needs to be done. I'm dedicated to learning about what needs to be done. Right now, I have a heart for the people. And I'm open to be taught. Tell me what needs to happen in this community. Tell me what needs to be changed. I'll listen. I'll hear. Excuse me. I'll hear you, and then I'll act in accordance with what I believe in my heart, and is best. So I would say, and I can't say whether they feel the same way or not, but I would leave that up to the community to decide. If they think I'm the best fit.
And if you don't win, are you still gonna have the same energy?
I like that energy. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we should absolutely. I should be involved whether I win or lose. That's of no concern. Whether I win or lose, I need to be involved in this community. Absolutely.
All right. Well, you are welcome to do that, brother. Thanks for coming, man. We appreciate you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all. We appreciate y'all watching. Tell a friend to tell a friend. TCP Network, HHNP. Nina, how you been, Nina?
Man, it was a jam-packed night.
It was a jam-packed night. We appreciate y'all watching.
I've been doing
for real.
good. I feel so privileged to be a part of this right now.
I agree 100%.
Like all these different voices, opinions, advocates, this stuff going on. I can't wait to the rally.
Oh yeah.
I'm really excited. Ooh, we got
Big plug. Make sure that you guys tell a friend to tell a friend about the rally, May 15th, Saturday. Get there at 9:30 so you don't miss the really dope performances by the McCaskey Drumline, who hasn't been out in 6 months. So they're going to tear it down. We got my brother Terry and Mac. And I heard somebody we know is hosting that joint. Oh, yeah, it's me, Sir Dominique Jordan, the prolific one. We're going to get it in. But we have another guest with us.
We got a community heavy hitter.
Let's go.
Hello, my name is Priscilla Glover. I am a member of the National Action Network. I'm a member of South End Concerned Neighbors. I'm a member of Project Activate.
All of that.
All that. Tell us a little bit about the National Action Network who brought us all here tonight.
So the National Action Network is a civil rights organization that was formed by Al Sharpton.
And them.
In 91, and it all came about with the whole Trayvon Martin murder. That's how it was formed.
Assassination.
Yes. So, when something's going on, Reverend Al has to be part of that. Formed a whole national organization, National Action Network. And so we have a Lancaster chapter that formed last year amidst all of the protests. It's kind of hot and heavy for a while there.
Oh, I like that.
Hot and heavy for a while there. And our other members are Chet Stewart, Darlene Bird, Betty Jones, Miss Betty Cawthorne. Oh, yes, Miss Betty's a heavy hitter right there. There's a bunch of heavy hitters right there. There's
We definitely appreciate y'all.
Paul Colbreth. There is so many. There's 25 members. 25 members total. And
Y'all was down in D.C., wasn't y'all?
Yes.
Oh, we was there. That was.
Yeah. I missed out. I was so upset. I missed it. Usually when there's
DC
a march,
was amazing.
Oh, I bet. I'm usually on it, but this one I actually missed. But getting things started in Lancaster, it's taken us a bit, but we are working on it. We're looking for younger people to get involved.
Is that a hint, wink, wink?
Hey, call us. We around. Hey, we like to be in the mix of the mess and make something happen, right? We gotta shake and move.
I have a question that has been a bit controversial, probably for the last 2 or 3 years, especially amongst the community, which is it better to have multiple organizations advocating for people where they're not as active and not as consistent, or is it better to have a few strong, mighty, active, participating members?
Wow. I'm going to say there's a time for both.
Okay.
Because sometimes you need those numbers and those names, even though they're not active. Not everyone can go out with that energy in their fight, but they can be present with their presence. And then you have those who are active, energetic, feisty. You need that too. So I'd say both.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a great question. That's a great question. I ain't gonna lie.
I like that.
Yeah, even better answer.
I like that.
What do you feel are the immediate needs of, not even of the people, but what are the immediate needs that you think city council should be able to take care of as soon as they're elected?
Like right now.
Like as soon
ASAP.
as soon as they get elected, what it do? What do they want to do?
Gentrification is the biggest thing in Lancaster
Talk
right
about
now.
it.
Even in my neighborhood, you have houses that are 50,000, and the house right next door is 200,000. And
what's that look like?
Oh,
What part of the city is
well,
that?
it looks the same actually. The houses pretty much look the same.
That's crazy.
It just costs different, you know. And the crazy thing is that it seems like a lot of people. There's an influx of people coming into the city, and they're paying a lot of money for housing and property. Whereas you have people who live in the city who can't afford a $200,000 home. I know I can't, and I don't really want to. I don't really want to. I don't need to.
You gotta break your
How
back
do
for
you
that.
feel?
Break
How
your
do you
mental.
feel about having to continue paying school tax for kids you might not have in school?
I don't mind that. I don't have any kids. And I
Okay.
live down the street. I live on the one.
Share with us why you don't mind it.
I don't mind because well, I live on the 100 block of South End Street.
Okay.
And down the street from me, there's
Southeast.
Edward Hand. Well, now it's the Southeast Middle School.
Soon to be Hazel Jackson Middle School. Hopefully.
Glover.
Okay, Glover Jackson. I like that. The Glover Jackson Institute of Academic Excellence. Come on, something. We need something. We need some power. We need some power. Can we get some power? We need some power behind it.
Even better than what I suggested. Okay. Oh, are you writing this down? Someone write that down.
Yeah, we
Miss
got-
Bird
yeah.
got us.
Write that down.
She got us.
Okay. And Washington's down the street from me too. And like I said, I don't have any kids, but it takes a whole community to take care of those kids.
Agreed.
And if it's taking my funds to take care of those kids, I'm all for it.
See, it takes a village still reigns true, y'all.
It takes a
Hey,
village.
ain't
You
that
see
the
that?
truth? Ain't that the truth?
Yes.
So,
And also, people invested in me when I was growing up. Growing up with a single parent, people invested in me, so I'm investing too.
So I just the name that I said about Southeast Middle School, right? How do you feel about, just to bounce off your question? How do you feel about paying, school taxes in schools that don't seem to be adequately funded and aren't meeting the standards that our students actually need? Not even just on an academic level and education level, but just the resources that they need, the safety that they need. We paying taxes and the schools ain't giving us back what we need.
Right. Well, it's time to hold candidates accountable. Accountable. If you want to buy a car and your car costs a lot of money, and you're having some problems with your car, what do you do with
I'm
it?
taking that joint right back.
There you go. This is how I feel about these candidates.
We're gonna meet
If they're
hey.
not doing their jobs, it's time to get different candidates.
It sounds like we need to come right back here as soon as the election is over, and we need to hash this out, right? And let them know.
Yes.
Hey, I like that
And instead
energy.
of it being a forum, the next one's going to be a debate.
I like that
It needs to be
energy
more
too.
intense.
Okay.
We need to put more people on the spot.
Put the
We
pressure
need
on
Put
them.
them in the hot seat.
accountability, yes.
Hey, well, anytime we want to do this, holla at TCP and HHP. We will make
Yeah,
it
we
happen.
ready.
Nina got the hard questions.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
Word.
So one last question. What do you want to see changed in your community?
Oh.
Most.
Well,
Most.
what I want to see change in my community, it's one thing to have the candidates held accountable or local government, but we need to have more neighbor participation.
Okay.
It's not just on the heads of the candidates to take care of our people, it's also on us. So we need to get out too. I know Edward Hand needs hall monitors. They need, when the school opens up all together, they need more people participating in the school. So I'm not really looking for a city council to come do that. I'm looking for my neighbors to do it because they live right next door to the school.
Hey, we hiring y'all. We hiring y'all. Big facts.
Yes.
Man, we need to see more brothers and sisters in our hallways. We need that, and that's what it's going to take to change the narrative. I honestly believe that. Well, thank you so much for sitting here with us, and we're going to keep on working.
Yeah.
Let us know when you want to come back, because we ready.
This definitely isn't going to be the last time we hear from you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we got another special guest coming as well.
Oh, yes. Another community heavy hitter.
Awesome.
The lady of the hour.
Woo, woo. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your questions earlier as well. Please introduce yourself. Tell people what you do.
I am Darlene Bird, and I'm the co-founder and founder of South End Concerned Neighbors. We formed in 1989, and we are yet going strong.
That is what I like to hear. Oh my goodness! Wow. So what type of how can I say, what type of events, what type of things were going on for you to cultivate an organization like this back in 98?
In 1989,
Oh, 89, okay.
1989, that's when drugs and violence was very heavy on Ann Street. One year we had like 7 people shot in 1 week. This is when we had drive-bys going up and down the street. So when we organized on the 200 block. And we're like, all the neighbors came together. Then we realized we want to get off the block. We got the Green Tree Posse up here. We got the South End Posse down there. We had to go through, so we expanded our area to address the issues.
Wow, that's what I like to hear. What that impact do historically?
Yeah, if y'all didn't know, we're amongst 7th Ward royalty right here, right now, y'all.
Right, talk about it.
Okay?
Talk about it.
I would like you to share just some of the accomplishments that the South End Concerned Neighbors have done in the last 10 years even.
Okay, yes. So first, one of the most rewarding things I think is there was a piece of land that Garden Court owned, and it was a mudslide. And we talked them into deeding that land to South End, and we planted a peace garden. Tyke Speller was shot there in the lot, a young boy. And so then that was back, and it's been 25 years. And when we started it, everybody said, they're going to tear it up. Don't do it. It was all very discouraging. To this day, that peace garden is there. We had it upgraded. We got a gazebo in there. We got electricity in there now. And it's still going strong, so very excited about that.
Yeah, they've done some amazing things for that entire street.
We rehabbed houses. We got our Chodo status, got HUD money. We bought blighted properties in our neighborhood, 7 houses. We rehabbed them and sold them to first-time home buyers. Those home buyers are still in their house today. So we're known for sustainability and the access to people. You know, we know who we're serving in our neighborhood.
Tearing down oppressors.
Yes.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Okay.
Loud and strong. We need to.
Yeah.
So outside of gentrification, because we talked about that a lot tonight, right?
Yes.
What is one of the next most pressing issues for our city council members, also our school board candidates, and just our neighbors in general, our citizens of Lancaster?
Right. I definitely think police and community relations is number 1 on the list. You know, no more. And we're good at making noise when things happen. We as a community got to stand strong. We can't accept these answers that we can't, the law don't allow, but then we need to change it. We need to say no more. You're not going to kill any more of our young black people. You're not going to arrest or put people in jail, or you're not going to go out there and pepper spray people because they're protesting, which is our right against in the law that we could protest peacefully. So I really think we have to build stronger police and community relations. And I think that can happen. I remember years ago in Lancaster when they talked about community policing. It wasn't just a police officer assigned to our sector. These officers were out walking up and down the street. They were talking to you. They knew you. So you didn't have a problem saying, hey, this is going on. You know, now you don't want to say nothing because you get caught up in the mix. And it's like, no. But it can come back to a place where the police and community at least have better relationships.
Which we so desperately need. I think police and youth need more of a relationship. Rather, in addition to parents educating and
Yes.
teaching their children how to engage and interact with police.
Why do our
Why do we-
kids have to do that? We don't. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell
And
them.
that's one of the things I was going to say. And it's funny because we have to teach our young black and brown daughters and sons, if a police officer, you got to do this. But you don't see the other communities out there telling them, well, if a police officer stops you, don't do nothing. You know, it shouldn't be like that. It should be fair across the board as far as police should automatically treat us with the same respect they do everybody else. We should be considered innocent until proven guilty. And you know, and a lot of times I think they approach us as like we're guilty of something, and then we receive them as, you know, as an adversary because of that approach.
Right, and we're already responding
And
from
no
a fearful.
de-escalations taking place.
We have a comment from Bree Espinosa on Facebook, and she says, and why did they have to get out? Because of corruption, that does not make it better. She also says, you don't need police, period.
Right. And you know, and when you think about that, I guess over in Europe, I think it's over in Europe where the peace officers do not carry guns. I mean, you know, and is that a place that we can get to? I'm not sure, and I don't have all those answers, but they are. And I know you hear other people saying we need to police our own community. And if we're policing our community, maybe you don't need police officers. I don't know that, but
So, I got two things to add to that. Right?
Okay.
One thing is this, and until I started working in the school, like I work at Lincoln,
Right.
and I live around the corner from there, right? So until I started working in the school, I never thought about the fact that every one of our schools has a police officer in it.
Yes.
Nobody ever talks about that conversation, right? Whether it be good, whether it be bad, whatever. But the other day we had a conversation with some of our students, right? And we asked them, we had a opinionated writing assignment, and they got to decide, do you think we should have school resource officers or not? Right? And I had a young man that told me he believes we shouldn't because we didn't need them in elementary school. We were able to carry ourselves, you know, a certain way. So why won't we be able to do that? When you have a police officer around, it almost seems like, okay, I can get in trouble for doing something bad. But as soon as you say that thought of being bad is in the back of my mind. And just the kid explaining that to me felt a little weird about it. But then I started thinking, why do we have school resource officers anyway? Nina, it's to do what you just said. They're supposed to be creating relationships with the young people in the school. That's the only job that they have. But they're strapped in there.
That's right.
They're
I
strapped
was
in the
going to
school.
say, if some of these
So I'm
kids did
confused.
start smelling themselves the way they did when they hit middle school,
I'm
then
asking-
maybe they wouldn't need these.
But I'm gonna ask you this then. I'm gonna ask you this. How many times was there a school shooting in the urban community? Why we need cops? Because then that's what they're gonna say. Well, you know, there's school shooters and stuff like. But when does that happen in the hood? These young boys is like they will put somebody down for that happening
Real
here.
fast.
You
Real
feel me?
fast.
But I just wonder, like, what is this really for? Who made this decision, and is this decision still appropriate?
I think some people might argue that it's to protect
Yes.
both parties
Yes.
at times. I don't know if community policing can canvas protect and come to the rescue in every scenario. There's some things that I can see kind of getting out of our hands. You know, when you're talking about homicidal things going on, terroristic things going on,
Well,
the boys in blue might come in handy.
Well, I would never say that's not true. I wouldn't say that's not
would
true,
not-
right?
right.
But at the same token, though, we got veterans in our community that could hold us down a lot more than some of these people that never lived here before.
Is
So
that
check-
their responsibility and their pay grade?
It's not their pay grade, but it's always our responsibility.
Okay.
So
touche.
so check this. When I was in the service, right, they always had this ideal of a police call, right? And I didn't really understand what that was because the only time I heard of a police was we were probably running from them. You know what I mean? But and I wasn't a criminal, but we were still running from them. So that's, to me, that just speaks to that token right there. But when we would do a police call, it was literally for us, like, let's say we're at the shooting range, right? After we're done shooting, we have to police up the community, clean up everything that all the rounds dispensed, anything that was here, and make it look better than it was before then. So why do we gotta be so reactive? To me, I'm not saying I don't support the police, but I feel like their active job right now is to be so reactive when you don't see too many being proactive.
Exactly.
One of the cops that I know, one of the greatest cops I would say that I know personally is my family, is my Uncle David Shell, right?
Right.
But only reason why he has a lot of the community connections that he has is because he was a football coach. Why does he got to be like have 10 jobs to be a respected black man as a cop?
Right.
Rather than these white dudes that be out here patrolling our neighborhoods, we don't see them at no sporting events, supporting our kids. Like, what does that look like outside of the badge and the, you know what I mean? I just feel like we got to build those connections somehow, some way.
We got to build better
Corinne,
relations.
Corinne Hill comments and says our current police have caused harm or terror for generations of families and friends. They can't trust the current force. They have threatened to shoot or physically hurt their friends. Our current chief has some hard decisions to make if we truly want to fix the police community relations.
And I believe that. And I think he's on the right track at some of the things that we heard tonight at the forum about what he is trying to do. And it's more than we've had. I mean, we just had the chief before him come in, and we didn't hear anything that was taken or any measures, and yet the same conditions existed. So with this new chief coming in, hopefully he does get the position. We do hear that there are changes that he has already made. So I think he's up for the task, and I still do believe there is a need for, and I like to call them peace officers, and that's what they need to go back to being called, peace officers instead of police officers, because they're to serve and protect, and we need to feel they're protecting us at all times.
I would love to see some peace officers that look like me, though.
Yes. Yes.
But I believe that if we had those opportunities to be peace officers, more people will be willing to do it. That vet that just came home that's tired of fighting.
Should it be a police officer's job to be emotionally aware and in tune with the community in which they're serving?
Yes, definitely.
Word.
Okay.
Yep.
I agree.
Yes.
Hey, well, thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you for sure.
Yes.
We appreciate your organization, and we got to bring y'all on again.
Yes, yes.
Definitely. Thank you. Well, guys, we are here. Make sure you tell a friend about HHMP, Hip Hop and Politics, every Tuesday night. And go ahead, Nina, my bad.
I want to thank the studio audience. We got live in the building right now, hanging in tough with us. And our viewers at home that are tuning in. We really appreciate your engagement. We love to hear from you guys. It's rare you get to speak one-on-one with some of these community warriors that we have here today. But that meeting with everyone, I think was very useful. I think it was helpful.
I agree. I think it was really useful. I think that is necessary for us to have these type of conversations, and not everybody has this analogy, right?
I would have liked to see more young people, though.
I agree. I
here
think they have to
today.
be invited to the conversation. We got to meet them where they're at, and to that token, right? There's this analogy where when they don't invite you to the table, you build your own table. So we built our own table, invited them here. I think that's important. I think we need to start taking advantage of the opportunity to do that, because we got a lot more power than we think.
We got to
Right?
claim it.
We got to claim it. But not even just claim it, we got to own it and respect it. Like, I think that it's going to take more people to be willing to stand in the gap, have the difficult conversations, but that's only one layer. Like, these candidates are definitely important. We want to make sure that we vote them in. We got the most people in America ever registered to vote, so we're going to take advantage of that.
Accomplishment.
We got to take advantage of that across the board. But what are we doing as citizens to hold them accountable, right? What are we doing as citizens to support the efforts that are already, in progress? So this is going to be an interesting campaign season. Y'all going to be around in November?
I
I'm
think
excited.
the bar has been set high.
Real high, real high.
You know, it's gonna and what I'm looking forward to is politics not having as much mudslinging going on. You know, a little bit more transparency, like people actually getting to know who they're voting for, what their agendas are.
So I got a question for you. Clarify for me real quick. Mudslinging, right? Is that like us, like, because I'm gonna be real with you. I have no issue with calling, like, I have no issue with other people.
Examples of mudslinging last campaign with the last presidential election.
I mean, I feel that, yeah, true. But I feel like here in our city, we've had a lot of politicians come through here and slide through here, right, and not be of the people. They represent Lancaster, right, but they're not really of the people. Like I'm gonna just say this. I ain't gonna call nobody's name out or nothing like that. But I remember this one little fancy dude thought he was real cool, popping up in bow ties around and stuff like that. And he really wasn't that. He wasn't that cool to me. So I'm gonna just say what I gotta say about that. You feel me?
Shots fired! Shots fired!
I want to see people that look like me hold these people accountable, but it shouldn't have to be just us. We have people that been here for years putting in this work, right? That even deserve to be at the table. They should be asked if they're allowed to come.
Given permission.
You feel me? So with that being said, I'm excited about where our city is headed, right? But I dropped a little record yesterday, right? And it's called The Red Rose Smells Funny.
You did that, bro.
Right? So like, if you guys didn't get to watch it, look it up on my page. The Red Rose Smells Funny, because I feel like the analogy is really real. Unless you from here and you really know what's going on.
Y'all know how when we're coming back from out of town, usually on 222 or Route 30, it gets to smelling a little bit funky, a little bit tart, right? You know what I mean.
Just a little bit.
You know you getting close to home. I love that smell.
I do love the smell. I love the smell. But then when I get here, right, before I can even like get here and settle myself, let's say I want to go stop somewhere to go grab some food, right? I stop somewhere to go grab some food. I don't always feel very welcome downtown in Lancaster. And why do the people that are downtown swear that it's so welcoming when all the people outside of downtown don't feel welcome? I don't understand. That's a problem that needs to change. And I'm excited for it to change because it's going to happen.
It's coming soon.
Oh, it's going to happen.
We're slowly seeing the different little things changing and becoming for all, for everyone.
So, Nina, I'm going to ask you this before we get out of here, right? What do you want to see change after these new candidates be elected? What is the number one thing that you want to see, whether it be mayoral, treasurer, city council, school board, whatever it is? What do you want to see?
Honestly, if each and every school and each and every student can get the same opportunities as the other one, I feel like we would have accomplished, I feel like that's success. I think we would be winning. I think that would be accomplishing a real, tangible goal that all of our students here in Lancaster deserve. They deserve a fair, the same shot that their homie, their friend from across town got. They got books, they got supplies, papers, pencils, you name it. They're well equipped, they're ready to learn. I want to see all of the students have that same opportunity.
I definitely feel that. There's this conversation, right, when I first started working for the district, they started using this word equity. Now, everybody uses the word equity, but nobody really knows what it means or explains it. They always got these little picture clips of some kids watching a baseball game and the fence being too big. There's one kid that's tall enough to see it. There's another kid that's almost tall enough. Then there's another kid that can't see nothing, right? And they like reshape these boxes and try to make it like when it's like, yo, look, it's real simple, right? There's a lot of people that no matter what you try to do to make it equal, it's not going to be equal. What are we going to do to be able to bridge the gap for those people that just aren't going to be able to start at the finish line? There's some people that aren't even at the finish line. There's some people a couple steps after the finish line just because of their privilege. right? How can we lean on that? Because we're not going to fix these problems in a day, in a month, like in a year. We're not, right? But even something, you know, I always go back to schooling because my passion is in education, right? We have 1% of black male educators in education in Pennsylvania in general, right? In general, right? How are young black men going to win in there? That don't make no dang sense. It doesn't make any sense.
If you think the residual effect of that is not going to be seen or very evident later on down the line, you're mistaken.
I was reading a book with my students today, right? We have a book club in our class. We're reading the Just Mercy book. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie Just Mercy about Bryan Stevenson.
It was good.
But I'm going to tell you this. The movie was cool. I really liked the movie when it first dropped. I watched it a couple times after. I'm a little, I ain't going front because it's a little too sappy.
The book's always better than the movie.
Right, but this book goes way deeper than I thought, Nina. Way deeper. There are kids in America today, right? Thousands of kids in America today that would get locked up for a crime that I could get locked up for and do like 5 years that they'll do in life imprisonment. There are kids that are still locked up to this day, and we're still trying to make sense of this, right? One instance in particular that while we're reading this book and I'm talking with my students, right? It was about how do we stand in the gap right now? Like, what is going to be their fight, right? They referenced like Ruby Bridges. She had her fight, right? You know, every era has their fight. What is going to be the fight for our students today? And how can we bring them to the conversation, right? So I'm going to plug it because that's what I do. I plug. You feel me? We're having an event at Lincoln Middle School, right? When I was a kid at Lincoln, there used to be this event that the YW used to have, and it would start at Musser Park, right? And they'll run all through McCaskey's campus, and then run right back down to Musser Park, and then it was over. Everybody had cool T-shirts and numbers, right? None of us kids had cool T-shirts and numbers. We used to just be running in a race, and nobody ever told us what the race was about. Yeah, we can read. People be like, can you read? Yeah, we can read. We know what it says, race against racism. Yeah, racism still going on. Y'all all going to go home. Y'all ain't going to ask us about it. Where all that money go, we don't know. You feel me? This year in particular, right? You know, it's just weird because there was a man that I met here at this center a couple years ago. I was standing outside with Marquise. This man walked up to me and Marquise. He said, man, I'm trying to find the black men that make moves out here. The young black people that making moves out here, right? And this brother was talking to me and Marquise about this movie that was going to come out, Just Mercy, about Bryan Stevenson, right? He ended up taking me and my wife, and Marquise and his wife, to go see this movie. So I got love for this guy, right? And it's full circle because his wife is the CEO of YWCA, and she's making changes with this race. For the first time, the race against racism is running through the Southeast. And while you're running, you can learn about why there are historical sites, African American sites here in the Southeast that people don't know about. That the schools ain't telling us. Why ain't the schools telling us? I don't know. That's another story. But the reason why I say this is we're having a race against racism event at Lincoln Middle School, right? The YW sponsored over 500 kids. We're going to have local hip-hop performers like my brother Tyrion Mack. You know, I always got to plug him. That's my man. Thundercat. I might even spit a little something for the young kids. But I'm excited because this is how we bridge the gap. This is how we bring them to the conversation. I can't wait to talk to these kids about why it's important to be culturally sensitive, culturally aware, and being an anti-racist. What is that? When you were a young person in middle school, did anybody ever talk to you about being an anti-racist? Why weren't they teaching us that? In that book, Just Mercy today, they were talking about back in the day how criminologists were expecting super predators out of the African American community. Isn't that ironic that we have a president that was talking about super predators? I'm not even going to get in on that, right? But look, it's just ironic, though, that they were talking about that, and I started thinking, like, wow, they really thought we were going to be super predators, right? But then now look at some of our young people that are out here lost, that are being raised by the hip-hop culture that they infiltrated, right? and they're out here killing themselves and killing each other. So they didn't think that we were going to become super predators. They're trying to make us super predators. They're trying to make us kill each other again and basically diminish the work that you've been doing with your organization. That stuff's not supposed to happen. I didn't know about that stuff in the 90s. I didn't know about that, right? But why did I lose so many friends in the 2000s when we got organizations like this when it's not supposed to happen? So I challenge you at home, watching this, listening to it, especially if you tune in every Tuesday night. What that impact do? Do something with your influence. Be the change. You don't gotta be you don't gotta run a fancy campaign to do it. All you gotta be is a concerned neighbor. You gotta be a good citizen, and you gotta want better for your community. You feel me?
That's how little it requires. The desire to want better for your community.
Baby steps. Even those little steps are gonna make a change.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week.
You ain't gotta go home. But you gotta get up out of here.
Peace.